So I have a question for you. Have you ever accidentally thought that you were a multimillionaire? Well, Ilhan Omar says she is not a multimillionaire. And look at this headline from the Wall Street Journal. She thought she was, though. Omar was standing down. Look at this headline. Ilhan Omar says she isn't a multimillionaire, blames accounting error. Okay, so an accounting error led her to believe she was very wealthy. Well, Omar was staring down a potential investigation after disclosing that she and her husband's assets were valued between $6 million and $30 million on a financial disclosure form. Now listen to this. That was an astronomical increase in wealth from her last disclosure, but she has since amended her filing, now saying that her assets are valued between $18,004 to $95,000. So 6 to 30 million to under 100,000. How in the world does that happen? Well, according to the Wall Street Journal, quote, aides said that Omar looked at the form before it was filed in 2025, but that the error did not jump off the page for her because she isn't involved with her husband's businesses. Okay, wow.
There's just been a focus on the rapid increase in your household wealth tied to your husband's companies.
Well, they have to make a choice to investigate, right? Like, do they choose to investigate or not?
I mean, if you've done something illegal, you would investigate.
But they're not investigating you.
I have not been made aware of an investigation into me or my family.
But when you look at the increase in your household wealth tied to your husband's companies, you understand why that raises questions for people watching from that.
Yeah, but that's again one of the. It's their saying, right? Like there is no wealth increase. If you look at my husband's income, it's almost non-existent. He's, helped make sure our children are, going to college, and our young one is taken care of. There is no wealth. There ranges to businesses that he was invested in. I'm pretty sure.
Well, look, who makes a multi-million-dollar mistake on their financial disclosure form? Either her accountant went to one of those quality Leering centers in Minnesota, or she lied about it. If she lied about it, that's a felony, Sean. If her accountant went to one of the quality Leering centers, then she should work with us as a whistleblower to help us prosecute all of her fellow Somalis who were involved in this massive welfare scheme in Minnesota. Either way, she's never explained to the public how her net worth was $30 million, and if she made a mistake, how the mistake happened. I mean, it's not possible. You review that financial disclosure form. Before you hit enter, you enter all the assets in, and then it pops up, and you review it, and you hit it again. So it's highly unlikely that she made a mistake. This isn't going to go away from her, so we're going to continue to try to push for answers and see if her name pops up in any of these frauds that Vice President Vance and the House Oversight Committee are detecting in Minnesota.
I don't even know what.
Well, they say. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Because they said you reported a net worth between $6 million and $30 million, and they said your 2023 disclosure was roughly $40,000. Between $40,000 and $250,000.
Yeah, but they're not net worths. They're like the asset things for the companies, and so I don't know what percentage of it my husband actually has investment in. Like that's not, you know what I mean? It's not a full picture of the numbers in the way that it is presented in the document, because in the documents we have to do ranges and we have to report. In a way that is not detailed. It's not like your tax return that you're submitting for the public record to see.
But that is a big increase, though. So you could understand why people would ask questions.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it'll get adjusted at some level when those ranges are looked at.
Breaking news, Ilhan Omar's husband's wine company has been legally dissolved. You are looking at the state of California certificate of cancellation for Est Crew. That is the wine company owned in part by Tim Wynette, the Minnesota Congresswoman's spouse. Now, why would Wynette and his business partner dissolve their wine business, especially in light of this fact? The Wall Street Journal writing, quote, a 2025 email between Omar's husband and his accountant states that the venture capital management firm is valued at $7.9 million and the winery at $1.5 million. He owns roughly a third of both businesses, according to tax documents included with the lawyer's letter. But why was the winery valued so high in the first place? According to the New York Post, Est Crew had all kinds of problems. By 2023, winemakers said they were not being paid, and investors sued. And Est Crew had only $650 by 2024. Now, overall, the Post says Est Crew only sold a handful of wines between 2020 and 2023. Now, look at this. Among the wines sold by Omar's husband was this beautifully labeled Malbec. You see a devious-looking woman. There's a red devil over her right shoulder. Interestingly, the Malbec is called, quote, the devil's lie. What a name. Est Crew also sold a Cabernet Sauvignon called Blockchain, a red blend called Overt, described in reviews as flimsy and tart. But Omar's husband's wine venture appears to have come to an end. And a supposed end to, quote, the devil's lie Malbec comes just days after we learned that Ilhan Omar accidentally thought she was a multimillionaire. Funny how that happens. Remember this from last week? Omar amended her financial disclosure form, which once showed her husband's businesses valued between $6 million and $30 million, blaming an accounting error. And Omar now values his businesses between $18,000 and $95,000, a change that came after her finances came under investigation. But Tom Homan says, stay tuned.
The whole file is being reviewed. A lot of smart people are on it. Stay tuned.
Well, 250 is what they say.
Yeah.
Misuse funds meant for child nutrition.
Yeah, 230 to 250. There's been about 77 or so.
75 defendants.
That have been indicted. Many of them have taken plea agreements.
That makes it. They got to make it hard for you, right? Just in general, not because you got anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But when he can point and say, "Well, this actually happened."
No, I mean it doesn't make it hard for me, but it does make it hard for, the average Somali business owner.
There you go. Yeah.
It makes it hard for the average immigrant business owner. It makes it hard for the average Black business owner, because it does create this cloud of suspicion, and obviously it's become very politicized, and it will continue to be politicized as we get closer to November, and the level of harassment people are dealing with. Even you'll have people go to restaurants, coffee shops, with their cameras harassing all of these business owners
and daycares
and
right?
daycare centers,
It's
where people have not been able to take their children because they're scared